700,000 miles, 0 engine rebuilds, 0 transmission failures. Most cars die at 160,000 miles, costing you $400,000 or more in your lifetime. But these 21 hidden habits that mechanics don't want you to know saved me over $200,000 in car purchases and repairs. What I'm about to share goes against everything you've been told about car maintenance, and frankly, it's information that could put some repair shops out of business. Habit number 21, the deadly oxygen sensor secret. Let me start with something that's probably happening in your car right now. This $60 part is silently destroying your engine, and you have absolutely no idea it's happening. Just last month, a customer brought me his quote-unquote perfect car. Smooth idle, no warning lights, purring like a kitten. But I decided to test his oxygen sensors anyway, and here's what I found. They were switching once per second instead of the 4 times per second they should be. I told him to replace them immediately, but he said the car was running fine and ignored my advice. 6 months later, he was back with a $2,400 catalytic converter replacement. Here's what you absolutely must know about this. Replace oxygen sensors every 90,000 miles period. Test their switching speed with a $30 scan tool that you can pick up at any auto parts store. If they're switching fewer than 4 times per second, replace them immediately. This single habit prevents catastrophic converter failure, but most people ignore this until their check engine light comes on, and by then, it's already too late. Habit number 20, the hidden rodent invasion protocol. Now, this next one might sound crazy, but stick with me because one mouse can total your car overnight, and this problem is happening 300% more often than it was just 5 years ago. Last winter, a customer brought in her brand new Honda with what she thought was an electrical problem. When I popped the hood, I found $8,000 worth of electrical damage from rodents. The security footage from her driveway actually showed mice entering through the air intake over several nights. The thing is, this was completely preventable if she had known this simple protocol. Every month, spray peppermint oil around your engine bay. Wrap critical harnesses with chili-laced rodent tape that you can buy online. Screen your vents during storage periods. It sounds simple, but here's the shocking part. Most people skip this completely until they hear scratching sounds coming from their dashboard, and by then, the damage is already done. Habit number 19, the shocking fluid temperature trap. Here's something that's going to blow your mind. You're checking fluids at the worst possible time, getting readings that will literally destroy your engine if you trust them. I actually prevented a $4,500 head gasket failure last year by catching coolant loss early. But the only reason I caught it was because I knew the secret timing that most mechanics will never tell you, because honestly, it's not in their financial interest. Check your oil 5 minutes after shutdown when the engine is still warm. This gives you the most accurate reading. Check your coolant only when the engine is completely cold, never when it's warm, or you'll get burned and get a false reading. Check your transmission fluid with the engine running and the transmission warm after driving for about 10 minutes. Here's what's shocking about this. 95% of car owners do this completely wrong, getting false readings that lead to catastrophic failures they could have easily prevented. Habit number 18, the critical parking brake transmission saver. Every single time you shift into park without doing this one step first, you're essentially gambling with a $3,200 transmission repair. Let me tell you a story that will change how you park forever. I watched a Camry roll down a hill and crash into a house because the parking pall snapped. The owner thought putting the car in park was enough to hold it on the slight incline, but here's what she didn't know. That tiny pawl was never designed to hold your car's entire weight. It's just a small metal piece that's supposed to be a backup, not the primary holding mechanism. From now on, apply your parking brake first, then shift into park. This simple change removes 2,000 pounds or more of stress from that tiny transmission pawl. The crazy part about this is that dealerships never teach this technique because frankly it prevents profitable transmission repairs. Habit number 17, the hidden seasonal oil strategy. Professional fleet managers use this next trick to add 150,000 miles to their engines, but regular drivers never hear about it because it goes against what oil companies want you to do. There's this taxi company I know that was getting 400,000 miles or more from identical engines while their competitors were rebuilding at 180,000 miles. When I investigated their secret, I discovered they were using seasonal oil viscosity adjustments that manufacturers don't advertise because it complicates their marketing. Use thinner oil in winter for better cold start protection when temperatures drop. Switch to thicker oil in summer for high temperature protection during hot weather. Your owner's manual actually has seasonal recommendations that most people never read. The problem is most people just use the same oil year-round and miss out on 200,000 extra miles or more of engine life. Habit number 16, the deadly cold start procedure. Here's something that will probably shock you. The first 30 seconds after startup cause more engine wear than 10 hours of highway driving. I'm not exaggerating. I actually documented bearing wear in engines with different startup procedures, and the difference was absolutely shocking. Improper cold starts created 400% more wear than the proper technique I'm about to show you. When you start your car, idle for 30 to 60 seconds, then drive gently until your temperature gauge starts to move. Never rev a cold engine, no matter how impatient you are. This single habit can add 200,000 miles or more to your engine's life. The problem is most people are in a hurry and rush this critical step, essentially destroying their engines one cold start at a time. Habit number 15, the hidden weekly inspection protocol. Spending just 10 minutes every Sunday prevents 95% of roadside breakdowns, but only if you know exactly what to look for during this inspection. My Sunday inspection routine actually caught a serpentine belt that was about to snap. If that belt had failed during Monday morning rush hour, it would have destroyed the engine through overheating, costing thousands in repairs. The thing is, most people only look under the hood when something is already broken. Every Sunday, check your tire pressure, oil level, coolant level, and belt condition. Look for any leaks or unusual wear patterns. Document anything that looks different from the previous week. Early detection saves thousands of dollars in repairs. Here's the truth that repair shops don't want you to know. This simple routine prevents 95% of emergency repairs, yet almost nobody does it consistently. Habit number 14, the shocking fuel system secret. Your fuel system is literally drowning in deposits right now that are increasing your fuel consumption by 35%, and every single tank of gas you put in makes it worse. I had a customer whose fuel injectors were so clogged that her engine was misfiring constantly. The repair bill was $1,200 for new injectors. The prevention cost would have been $12 worth of fuel cleaner. But here's the kicker. She had been using cheap, low-quality gas for 80,000 miles because she thought she was saving money. Use fuel system cleaner every 5,000 miles without fail. Only buy top-tier gasoline that has the proper detergent package. Never let your tank drop below 1/4 full because running low actually damages your fuel system. The problem is most people ignore fuel quality until their injectors fail, then they wonder why their perfectly good car suddenly needs expensive repairs. Habit number 13, the hidden brake fluid moisture trap. Brake fluid silently absorbs moisture from the air, and this moisture causes complete brake failure when you need stopping power the most. This is literally life or death. A friend of mine had his brakes fail on a mountain descent because the moisture-contaminated fluid actually boiled under pressure. The pedal went straight to the floor with no warning. The terrifying part is that $3 worth of test strips would have detected this problem months before it became life-threatening. Test your brake fluid moisture annually with test strips you can buy at any auto parts store. Replace the fluid every 2 to 3 years regardless of how it looks. Never ignore gradual changes in how your brake pedal feels. The problem is most people never test their brake fluid. They just hope their brakes will work when they need them most. Habit number 12, the critical cooling system trap. Modern aluminum engines start to warp at 235 degrees Fahrenheit, but here's the terrifying part. Your temperature gauge is actually lying to you about how hot your engine really is. I saved an engine last year by installing a digital temperature gauge that showed 248 degrees, while the factory gauge was still showing normal. The owner had no idea his engine was about to self-destruct. The truth is, most people trust gauges that are designed to prevent panic rather than provide accurate information. Flush your coolant every 50,000 miles regardless of what the manual says. Install a digital temperature monitor so you know what's really happening. Replace your thermostat preventively every 100,000 miles before it fails. The problem is, manufacturers recommend longer intervals to reduce warranty claims, not to protect your engine. Habit number 11, the hidden tire pressure strategy. Improper tire pressure destroys suspension components, kills your fuel economy, and contributes to 11,000 accidents annually. But there's a specific strategy that can save you serious money. I tracked fuel economy over 50,000 miles on identical vehicles, and perfect tire pressure saved $600 in gas and $1,500 in premature tire replacement. The problem is, most people only check their tire pressure when the tires actually look flat. Check your pressure weekly when the tires are cold using a digital gauge only. Those gas station pumps are notoriously inaccurate. Rotate your tires every 5,000 to 7,000 miles to ensure even wear. What's shocking is that most people ignore this completely until their tires fail catastrophically at highway speeds. Habit number 10, the deadly timing belt trap. This $400 part can destroy your entire engine if it fails, and here's the terrifying part, it gives you 0 warning signs before it snaps. I had a customer whose timing belt snapped at 92,000 miles. The replacement cost was $8,500 because the pistons hit the valves when the belt broke. The crazy part is that a $400 preventive replacement would have prevented this entire disaster. Replace your timing belt every 60,000 to 100,000 miles according to your manufacturer's specifications. Never wait for symptoms because there won't be any. Mark your calendar with the replacement date and treat it like a life or death appointment. The problem is, most people gamble with interference engines, not realizing that one belt failure means total engine destruction. Habit number 9, the hidden transmission cooler secret. Transmission fluid temperatures above 175 degrees cut your transmission life in half. But most cars have completely inadequate cooling systems from the factory. I know a fleet manager who installed aftermarket transmission coolers on half of his identical vehicles as a test. The cooler-equipped transmissions lasted 400,000 miles or more. The standard transmissions without coolers failed at 180,000 miles. The difference was dramatic. Install an auxiliary transmission cooler for $150 to $300. Monitor your fluid temperature with a digital gauge if possible. Change your transmission fluid every 30,000 miles instead of the manufacturer's ridiculous 100,000 miles recommendation. The truth is, dealers don't recommend this because it prevents profitable transmission rebuilds. Habit number 8, the shocking air filter revenue trap. Dirty air filters reduce your engine power by 20% and increase fuel consumption by 15%. But there's a revenue trap that most people fall into that costs them thousands. I had a customer who was buying $40 dealer air filters every 6,000 miles because that's what they told her she needed. I showed her $8 high-quality aftermarket filters that performed identically in every test. Her savings over 100,000 miles was $1,600 just on air filters alone. Replace your air filter every 15,000 to 30,000 miles depending on your driving conditions. Use high-quality aftermarket filters that meet or exceed OEM specifications. Inspect monthly if you drive in dusty conditions. The problem is, dealers charge a 5 times markup on simple filters, making this basic maintenance incredibly expensive. Habit number 7, the critical serpentine belt warning system. When your serpentine belt fails, it doesn't just stop your car. It destroys your alternator, power steering, and water pump simultaneously, creating $2,000 or more in repair bills from a single failure. I prevented a catastrophic failure last month by noticing 1 millimeter of belt wear during a routine inspection. The replacement cost was $45. If that belt had failed on the highway, it would have caused $2,200 in damaged components, plus the cost of towing and lost time. Inspect your belts every 30,000 miles without fail. Look for cracks, fraying, or glazing on the belt surface. Replace at the first sign of wear. Don't wait until it's obvious. Carry a spare belt in your trunk for emergencies. The truth is, most people ignore their belts until they hear squealing, and by that time, secondary damage is already occurring. Habit number 6, the hidden differential service trap. Differential failure costs $3,000 to $5,000 to repair. But here's what's shocking. Manufacturers actually hide the service requirements to reduce warranty claims and increase long-term profits. I had a customer whose differential literally exploded at 120,000 miles. The repair bill was $4,200 for a complete replacement. The heartbreaking part is that $150 fluid changes every 50,000 miles would have completely prevented this failure. Service your differential every 50,000 miles using only manufacturer-specified fluid. Never ignore whining or clunking noises from the rear of your vehicle. Most people don't even know their car has a differential, let alone that it needs regular service to survive. Habit number 5. The shocking carbon buildup solution. Modern direct injection engines build up carbon deposits that cause misfires, rough idle, and significant power loss. But there's a simple prevention method that manufacturers don't want you to know about. I had a customer with a BMW that had severe carbon buildup at just 60,000 miles. The professional cleaning cost $800 and required removing the intake manifold. The crazy part is that $20 worth of seafoam treatment every 10,000 miles would have prevented this completely. Use quality fuel additives regularly according to the directions. Perform what we call Italian tune-ups monthly by driving at high RPMs on the highway for several minutes. Consider walnut blasting every 80,000 miles for direct injection engines. The problem is, manufacturers don't advertise this issue because it creates profitable service revenue. Habit number 4, the deadly wheel bearing warning. Wheel bearing failure can cause complete wheel separation at highway speeds, which is often fatal. But early detection is actually simple if you know what to listen for. A friend of mine had a wheel bearing fail at 75 miles per hour on the interstate. The wheel completely separated from the vehicle, causing a rollover accident. The terrifying part is that a humming noise had been present for 2,000 miles before the failure, but he ignored it. Listen for humming or grinding noises coming from your wheels. Test by swerving gently left and right at highway speeds. If the noise changes or gets louder during turns, that indicates bearing wear. Replace immediately when detected. The problem is, most people ignore bearing noise until catastrophic failure occurs. Habit number 3, the hidden fuel pump saver. Fuel pumps fail when you run your tank low because the fuel actually provides cooling for the pump motor. There's a simple prevention strategy that doubles pump life. I had a customer whose fuel pump failed at 80,000 miles. The replacement cost was $1,200, including labor. When I asked about her driving habits, she admitted that she consistently ran her tank down to empty before filling up. Simply never dropping below 1/4 tank would have doubled her fuel pump's life. Keep your tank above 1/4 full at all times. Use fuel system cleaner every 5,000 miles to keep the pump inlet screen clean. Replace your fuel filter every 30,000 miles to protect the pump. What's shocking is that most people regularly run their tanks to empty, not realizing they're literally killing their fuel pump every time they do it. Habit number 2, the critical engine mount destroyer. When engine mounts fail, they don't just cause vibration.
Shouldn't be moving like this. This means that the engine mounts are bad and need to be replaced.
They trigger a cascade of failures that destroy your transmission, CV joints, and exhaust system, creating $3,000 or more in repair bills. I had a customer whose engine mount failed, causing $3,500 in secondary damage to components that were perfectly fine before the mount broke. The preventable part is that excessive vibration had been present for months before the failure, but she ignored it. Inspect your engine mounts every 60,000 miles by looking for cracking or separation in the rubber. Replace at the first sign of deterioration. Never ignore increased vibration in your vehicle. The problem is, most people ignore the mounting system until multiple components fail simultaneously. Habit number 1, the ultimate secret that multiplies everything. This is the most important habit that makes all the others work effectively, and it's the one that most people completely ignore because it seems boring. Document everything that happens to your vehicle. Keep a maintenance log, track your fuel economy, note unusual noises, and record your repair history. This data reveals patterns that can predict failures weeks before they actually occur. Use smartphone apps to track your maintenance schedules, photograph problem areas so you can compare them over time. Log your fuel economy religiously because sudden drops indicate developing problems. The most successful car owners I know all have one thing in common. They treat their vehicles like investments rather than disposable items. These 21 hidden habits completely transform my relationship with car ownership from expensive and unpredictable to affordable and reliable. But there's still one more critical piece of the puzzle that separates the cars that make it to 500,000 miles from the ones that die early. Click the video appearing on your screen right now to discover the 12 proven habits to drive your car past 500,000 miles with no major repairs. These aren't just maintenance tips. These are the exact strategies that professional fleet managers use to get ridiculous mileage from their vehicles while avoiding the costly repairs that bankrupt most car owners. I've documented these habits across hundreds of high-mileage vehicles, and the results will shock you. And if you're serious about keeping your car alive for decades instead of years, subscribe to Car Care Simplified. We don't just talk about basic maintenance. We reveal the industry secrets that manufacturers and dealerships don't want you to know because it cuts into their profits. Our community of 500,000 car owners proves that these techniques work in the real world. Join us, and you'll never get stranded on the side of the road again.